Hello and welcome to the training for report writing. Today we're focusing on the Moderator Feedback to Centre report, so that's the one you do after your remote moderation activity. This session will provide you with key information to support you in the completion of Moderator Feedback to Centre reports. You should use this to ensure you are accurately and effectively completing the report, which will outline your judgments when remarking the synoptic assignment. Each centre will receive these reports in relation to all of the technical synoptic assessments they've delivered this year. So here are the objectives of the session: to provide an overview of the principles of effective report writing, to explain the Moderator Feedback to Centre report for 2018-19. We'll explain the contents to be included in each section of the report and provide some examples of good practice. Along with this, we'll share some hints and tips and explain the process for submitting the report to City and Guilds. Here are the principles for effective report writing. You should always focus on the accuracy of centre marking in relation to the national standard and provide relevant and constructive feedback, making sure the language is clear, accurate and informative. You should always refer directly to the assessment objectives and the marking grid and indicate areas of good practice as well as areas for improvement. Here's the new Feedback to Centre report. You'll see it has a reference number F3. This is to help you locate the correct document, and it helps the moderation support team to file them. Please also check the exemplar and use it for reference. It gives advice on how to pitch your feedback. This is found on the Moderator document library. As you can see, there have been some changes to last year's form. We've done this to streamline the process and make sure moderators are feeding back on the correct areas, so please make sure you use the correct version. The outcome of moderation, seen here in this box on the slide, is confirmed by City and Guilds, and you'll be asked in July to tick either of these outcomes. This is what finalises the report, so your availability at this last stage is key. Boxes 3 and 4 show that there are only two areas to feed back on. The first one is admin, so centre administration, and the second one is centre marking. These two areas are completed during your remote activity and then tailored once the outcome is confirmed. We only feed back on candidate evidence if it relates to the accuracy of marking. Some moderators in previous years fed back on areas such as how they might achieve better marks or how good the evidence was. This is only relevant if it relates to centre marking, so if the centre judged the evidence as limited but the moderator judged it as good, this would affect the marking, so it should be fed back. And you might say, in AO2, the centre marking of the top scoring candidates was not consistent with moderator judgments. The marking here was too harsh, and then you'd give your reasons why. Here are some examples of terms used in last year's reports. On the left we have best practice, and the right terms we'd like you to avoid. Some of these are quite straightforward, such as the term marks instead of grades and band descriptors instead of grade descriptors. But the use of the term feedback on the CRF or PO is in fact inaccurate. These documents are not used for feeding back, they are used as justifications or descriptions of the quality of candidate performance. By describing this as feedback, e.g. saying the feedback on the CRF was not detailed enough, it actually changes the use of the documents, and some centres already have the misconception that they can feed back to their candidates during the synoptic. We don't want to encourage them to do this. The other one is the use of the term feeling or felt. The moderator judges, they don't feel. A feeling is not usually backed up with tangible evidence, and everything you say as a moderator should be. Here are some tips on the use of language. Ensure the language you use is positive and constructive. Think of the end user and how they might feel receiving these comments. Remember, you're judging the whole cohort, marking on a small sample of evidence, so it could be inappropriate to say that something always happened. Use of the word occasionally might be better, or across the sample, it was noted, if you saw it in every piece. We have some further examples on the slide of words used in last year's reports which could have been tailored to make the document sound either less aggressive or more professional. Using spell check and grammar check will help you to ensure your document is almost accurate, but sometimes even these don't get it right. Read it back and check for inaccuracies before sending on to your principal moderator or lead moderator. Some of last year's reports were sent back and forth on a few occasions, which is not a good use of time. I have an example which sometimes catches us all out, the use of apostrophes. Remember, they're used for the two O's, ownership and omission, not for pluralising. So Google it if you're unsure, because grammar check won't always give you the correct version. Additionally, make sure that you write in a formal style and always use the past tense. Here are some general hints and tips. The outcome must match the feedback, so use caveats or preambles when you have to finalise the document following confirmation of marks. For example, you might say, although most of the marking across the sample was accurate, it was judged as slightly too lenient in AO3. Or you could say, centre marking was intolerance, however there were some discrepancies found in AO4 and 5, and then you'd explain your reasoning. Ensure that the form looks professional by using the same font throughout. If you copy and paste anything, merge the formatting so that it looks the same. Ensure all numbers that you use are accurate, so centre numbers or qualification numbers, etc. We've got a slide later which shows you how to remove track changes and those comment balloons following any quality checks made by your principal moderator or your lead. It's good practice to refer to the guidance documents provided by City and Guilds. 1, because it helps to clarify your point and give the centre evidence that it is in fact a requirement and you haven't just made it up. And 2, it encourages staff to read these documents. Most mistakes come out of centres not reading the guidance, so remember, as moderators, we want to help the centre to get it right next year. Following on from what you should do, here are 2 examples of what to avoid. It's not the moderator's job to advise candidates how they could have increased their marks. Only refer to the quality of work if it's been judged incorrectly in the centre. If it's all poor quality but it's been marked as such, that's fine, we don't comment. Avoid using candidate details when feeding back. It's not necessary to say that Amy's task 2 was missing or candidate LMO 4455 had unclear photos, for example. And please don't criticise centre delivery. It's not the moderator's job to decide whether the centre delivered the qualification correctly. So here's a summary and a final check for you. First of all, ensure that the centre qualification and assessment numbers are correct. Check the spelling, punctuation and grammar. Ensure that the font is used and it's consistently black Arial 11 throughout the document. And finally, ensure all edits, comments and track changes made by your LMLPM have been removed. So for those of you that don't remember how to remove the track changes or the comment boxes in a Word document, here's some information. If you go to the top if you open up your Word document and go to the tabs at the top, you'll find there's got something called Review. If you click on that and then go slightly to the right, you will see that you've got an Accept button. If you click on the Accept, it will bring a drop-down menu that's shown here on the slide that allows you to either accept a change and move to the next, or accept all changes and stop tracking in the document. When you finalise your document before sending it back to your PM and on to moderation support, it's expected that you have actually stopped tracking and accepted all those changes. Additionally to that, you'll find that sometimes your LM or your PM has written comments boxes at the side of the Word document, and that might be to explain the reason why they've made a change or to ask you a question. You'll need to remove all of these before you finalise the document. So again, in that Review tab at the top, you would click on that, and slightly to the left of that this time, you'll find that there's either a new comment or delete next to it. Click on delete, and you can either delete that particular comment box, or you can delete all of the comment boxes in the document. So make sure you've done both of these things before sending it on as a finalised document to Technical Moderation Support Team. And here's the process of what to do following your remote moderation. You complete the form and send this copy to your PM or your LM. He or she will provide feedback on the content which you must take on board, make those changes and implement in any further reports. You'll file this report and wait for the outcome to be confirmed by City and Guilds. You'll tick the relevant box and review the comments to make them suit the outcome. For example, if you said that centre marking was at times inaccurate, but City and Guilds have, after regression, confirmed that centre marks should stand, you'll need to tailor your feedback slightly. Submit this final document to your LM or PM, who will request any changes if they need to, and once this has been done, the report goes to Moderation Support Team. At that point, you'll copy in your LM and your PM. This slide highlights the support and resources that are available to you. An exemplar can be found on the Moderator document library. There's a link there on that slide. So if you want to see how to complete one of these F3 reports, then have a look at that exemplar. Your principal moderator might also have created a subject-specific exemplar, so do have a look at that one as well. Refer always to your PM or your LM with any queries whilst writing these reports, but remember that both Sharon and myself, Alison, are available and happy to help with any of your questions.